Couple of days ago, I was having a chat with someone about this whole DJing thing, right? And they want to get started as a DJ. However, what was quite interesting about this conversation is that the whole nightclub closure thing came up because clubs here, especially in the UK, are closing down at quite a rapid rate. And so their approach about getting started is they want to go down the mobile or sort of private bookings type DJ route versus what I do, which is playing in the high street nightclubs. So I thought this would make quite an interesting video talking about some of the fundamental differences and things you need to consider depending on which route that you are going to take. So let's get into it. So the first topic I want to talk about today is all about money and getting paid, because in my chat the other day, the reason why this person was looking at pursuing mobile DJing versus club DJing is because they were saying that, oh, I can get paid considerably more money than what a resident DJ is getting paid in a nightclub. And I am referring to like your resident DJs here, not like touring artists. And yes, in its most basic sense, that is true. If you are a well-established private hire DJ, you know, so doing weddings, birthdays and stuff, you can get paid quite considerably more than what your resident DJ is getting paid in a nightclub. However, there are some considerations that you need to take into account before deciding down this route. If you're DJing in a nightclub, okay, you might do a 4 or 5 hour set. Those times will always be fixed because the license of the venue, maybe on New Year's Eve you might have to do more, but you're always going to be playing a fixed amount of hours. And obviously the speakers, the lighting, etc. is already installed in the venue. So you can rock up to a nightclub gig with potentially your music, your headphones, your microphone, and away you go. In its worst form, you might have to add a controller into the mix and plug into their sound system in order to play. With a wedding, or a birthday or any kind of private hire, you need to invest considerably more money up front. The barrier to entry, in my opinion, is a lot higher because yes, you might get paid more, but you're also going to have to pay out more in order to do that gig in the first place. So we've got all the things that you need to do a nightclub gig, but you're also going to need lighting. You're also going to need your own sound system, and a big sound system at that, which can be quite costly. And if you want to get paid the big money, you're going to need a very good quality sound system, not something that you've found on Amazon for really cheap. Lighting, as we've mentioned. You're also going to need all of the stands to put all of that stuff on, because a lot of these venues won't have DJ booths, so you're going to potentially need to buy a DJ booth. You're going to need all of the trussing and, you know, poles and totems, I think that's what they're called, to put that lighting on, which is a big investment. Plus as well, you've got to think of all the cables and all of that. And you need to buy insurance here in the UK. You need to get all of your equipment electronically tested for safety. Plus as well, all of this stuff takes up room. So you're also going to need the transport to get it to the gig. Plus, if you're charging big money for these gigs, people are going to want to know your credentials. You know, how qualified are you to charge that kind of money? Okay, they want to see customer testimonials, potentially a bit of, you know, they want to know that you've got a bit of a track record. So do bear that in mind. And if you're starting out as a mobile DJ, you may not be able to charge what you think you can charge straight away, because the people charging the big money are the ones that have been doing it for a long time, have built that credibility, which sometimes takes a long time to do. Factor number 2 then is time, because it came up in my conversation the other day about the fact that nightclub DJs, they finish so late, you know, the early hours of the morning, and you go home and it's like 4 or 5 o'clock, whereas weddings and birthdays, they finish at like 11, 12, maybe 1 o'clock at a push, but usually it's kind of between 11 and 12. And that is true. When you're a nightclub DJ, of course, you drive to the gig, you plug in and play, and you DJ from like, say, 10 p.m. till 3 in the morning. Okay, that's the hours, or maybe 4 in the morning, maybe even 5, I don't know. But it is the early hours of the morning. However, one thing that I think does get overlooked, and this is the one thing that I hated about mobile DJing, because I used to be a mobile DJ before I got into clubs, is You have to load up your car or your van. That's going to take considerably more time than if you're a club DJ just throwing a bag and a controller in the car. So all of the flight cases with your lighting, your trusses, your DJ booth, your controller, all of that has to get loaded into your car or your van. Maybe you keep it in the van. It depends on what your setup is at home, like in terms of storing stuff. But you have to do that. You then drive to the gig, you then have to offload it, you then have to set everything up, make it safe, tie down all the cables, make it look nice and tidy. You then do the gig, and then of course there's the other side of that, so packing it all down again, loading up the car or the van and then taking it all home, and then potentially when you get home, offloading it there. So actually, when it comes to time, I think it's a bit of a myth. It might be an early finish overall, but it's going to be a lot more time investment from you in the earlier parts of the day, and potentially after the gig is finished, there's a lot more involved versus when you finish at a club, simply pulling the cables out, packing your controller away and going to bed. Well, obviously travel as well, but it's a lot quicker. So do bear that in mind. And I remember, to be honest, when I used to finish mobile DJing gigs at like 11 o'clock, I used to hate, packing everything away, putting it back in the car and then offloading it when I got home. That was my biggest pet hate. And I do not miss those days, trust me. But do bear that in mind, because actually there may not be that much difference when it comes to time. Next thing to consider, of course, with all of that equipment, you are going to need to store it somewhere. Storing a controller and a laptop at home with some headphones is pretty easy. Anyone can put that into a cupboard, take it out, go to a gig, put that back in the cupboard. However, if you've got big speakers, lighting, truss, where are you going to store that at home? You do need to consider this. Are you going to leave it in your van or your car overnight? Is that secure? Is your, these things are expensive, right? They're valuable. So is your property safe enough that you could leave it in a car or a van? Or are you going to need to, unload it into a garage or a room in your house? Do you have the storage for all of that equipment? Or if you don't, are you going to have to rent a storage unit somewhere? Do bear in mind that, of course, that if you rent a storage unit, that is an extra cost to you. So do bear that in mind. And the final thing that I want to talk about today is getting to know your clients. This does link into time as well, which we mentioned earlier in the video. But for me as a nightclub DJ, my client is the general manager of the nightclub that I am working for. And once I've got to know them, what they like, what they don't like, and the music policy of the room, I'm kind of given free rein to do whatever I want within reason to ensure that the crowd are enjoying themselves and having a good time. Compare that then to the mobile DJ, which in my opinion has to get to know their clients on a lot more of a personal level. For example, if you are playing for a couple that has booked you to play at their wedding, the most important day of their life, you are going to have to spend a lot more time getting to know them, getting to know the music that they want, potentially working out playlists with them in terms of what to play when, what not to play, because potentially certain tracks might trigger memories that they don't want brought up at the gig, etc., etc. So a lot more time has to get invested into spending time with your clients to get them to get to know them on a more personal level. Every client is going to be very individual, very, very different. So just something to bear in mind. So there we have it, some of the fundamental differences between club DJing and mobile DJing. Hope you found this video interesting and useful, especially if you're starting out and you're not sure which path you want to take. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what type of DJ you are. I am genuinely intrigued to know. Do give me a thumbs up if you haven't done so already, and I will see you in the next video.